Herzlich willkommen bei Einfach Storage, dem Storage-Channel der IBM. Und heute möchte ich gemeinsam mit meinem Kollegen Ram vom weltweiten Product-Team Offering Management das Thema Cyber Resiliency besprechen. Mein Name ist Benedikt Heinz. Ich bin Vertriebsleiter für das Thema Storage, Hardware und Software für unsere Top-Kunden. And for reason that Ram is an English-speaking guy, I would like to switch to English. And my first question to you, Ram, happy to have you here today, is did CrowdStrike, the fallout, have changed the mind by our clients?
Yeah, thanks for having me, and it's a pleasure, Benedikt. So CrowdStrike is very interesting because everyone had been focused on cyber attacks or natural disasters, right? These natural disasters have been in for a while. And now people started focusing on ransomware and some of the more advanced threats. What CrowdStrike exposed or brought a different twist to the story is that configuration can be impacted, right? Or configuration can bring down entire endpoints and make you lose access to your data. And what I feel it has done is it has highlighted two things. One is our interdependence on third-party software vendors like CrowdStrike. And the second is it highlights or amplifies the importance of data resiliency. Because it doesn't matter whether it's a disaster that takes your data out, or it's a cyber attack that does that, or even a user configuration or a software configuration issue, which was the case in this time, right? So I feel like it has now highlighted the urgency for clients to worry or think about data resiliency.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very interesting that it's not anymore about cyber attacks, more also technical issues leading to the needs of resiliency.
Yeah, see, at the end of the day, you don't want to stop innovation, right? So you are going to have to allow cloud vendors to upgrade software and update these on the fly. So we don't want to do away with those, but in case something happens like what it did, you want to have a fallback plan or a backup plan, right? That's kind of what it does. Yeah.
Thanks. Another question, if I look on Defender, how does that differentiate to a SIEM? Because also Defender is scanning storage and also creating events. That would be a question.
Yeah, so if you think about IBM Storage Defender that provides end-to-end data resiliency across all your data, irrespective of which storage media it's on, I think one of the key things it does is it looks at data. So basically it does early detection based on any signals it sees as anomalous, right? So let's say there is a lot of data that is ingested in the last backup run compared to what it was the last 365 days, it highlights that. Now, such events need to get reported to a central monitoring system or a team, right? And in certain advanced organizations, you have security operations teams or called SOCs. And SOCs deploy tools such as SIEMs, which are incident event management tools, or orchestration and recovery tools, remediation tools. So we cannot make an assumption that every customer or every client has a SIEM in place or is deploying one. And at the same time, if we look at it from a SOC perspective, they have to look at things way beyond storage itself, right? So that's why we have Defender that plays an interesting role at the intersection of security and storage, whereby it needs to act as the SIEM for storage, but then it plays within a broader security landscape, right? So it contributes to the broader SIEM while playing the role of a SIEM within the storage space. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And another question is, how do you guarantee with IBM Storage Defender that the recovery is safe?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Of course, I mean, one of the common sayings is there are no guarantees in life, but you have to get as close to being able to guarantee a recovery as possible. The way you guarantee anything is by preparation, right? So one of the things is that you need to take copies at a frequency that's consistent with your business priorities. So let's say you have a set of mission critical applications and you should have recoverability targets for those apps. Because we have defined RPO and RTO in the traditional constructs, we discussed CrowdStrike. How are we going to be able to hold those constructs in the modern day where you have cyber attacks and you have these user configs or software configs change the game. So those things don't apply anymore. Those in fact go off the window. So you need to have recovery targets based on the criticality of your applications. And when you do that, you take copies at a regular frequency, and then you need to test these copies, which is the piece that many of our clients are just warming up to now, right? And how do you test this? Do you test this in production? You can't do that, right? Because again, you can't impact production. Therefore, you need to have an isolated environment, or sometimes called as clean room, in which you need to test these recoveries. Because the way you guarantee a recoverability is to have copies and then also test the recoveries. So the combination of these two helps you sort of get as close to guaranteeing, sort of the SLAs per the business priority as you possibly can, right? And does it cover all the scenarios? Probably not, but maybe it covers 80%, 60%, whatever the definition of your policy is. Make sense?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Last question to you. Give us here and the audience as well 3 key takeaways which everyone should keep in mind who is watching that video with both of us.
Yeah, so when it comes to prevention, we always say prevention is better than cure. So when it comes to cyber attacks, when it comes to any of your threats that impact data, right, whether disasters, attacks or configs, I think the key thing is to prepare. And that means you need to set your policies that are consistent with your business intent. Otherwise, there will always be surprises, right? It's like, oh, how come we don't have a copy? It's a question our storage administrators get asked by the security teams. If you haven't defined the policies that are consistent with the business priorities, sure, there will be situations where you don't have that copy that you need when you need it the most, right? So preparation is key, and that means making sure your configurations are consistent across your different layers and tiers of storage, and that they are consistent with your business priority. So that's one takeaway I wanted to leave with. Second is continuous monitoring. So which means you cannot stop looking, right, for threats. And this is where AI comes in, where we use bots, we use algorithms to detect all these new kinds of threats, and we do that continuously even when humans cannot watch. And the moment you find something that looks anomalous, you try to correlate that with other events found. This is exactly what a security operations team or a SecOps team does, where you highlight all these issues that you're seeing within storage. That's where our specialty is. And then you highlight it to a bigger layer where you can inference now, okay, you're seeing some incidents, we saw some too, and now together it constitutes a threat, right? So kind of continuous monitoring, early detection is kind of the second takeaway. The last is to guarantee that safe recovery, your second question. It's that you need to ensure you test recovery and that you do it not just during wartime, but also during peacetime, as I like to say, right? Even when nothing is going wrong, you still need to test your recoveries to ensure that when something does go wrong, that you're still able to recover it because you have tested this thing. It's very much like training for the Olympics or whatever, right?
Yeah. So preparation, monitoring, and testing. Thank you very much for that good interview.
Well, thanks. Good questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.